The Discovery. The stars look different out here. Captain Sarah Chen pressed her palm against the cool viewport of the exploration vessel, Aurora's Edge, and watched the alien constellations drift past. After 18 months in deep space, she had grown used to the loneliness of the void. But something about this sector felt wrong. The silence was too complete, too empty. "Captain, you need to see this." Dr. Marcus Webb's voice carried an edge of excitement that made Sarah turn from the window. The xenobiologist was hunched over his scanning station, his weathered face illuminated by the blue glow of his displays. Sarah crossed the bridge in quick strides. "What have you found, Marcus?" Mass signature bearing 27 Mark IV. Marcus's fingers danced across his controls, bringing up a three-dimensional display. "It's big, Sarah. Really big. And it's not natural." Lieutenant Jake Morrison looked up from his security station, one eyebrow raised. "Define big, Doc." 12 kilometers long, maybe 3 wide. Marcus zoomed in on the sensor reading. "Metal composition, definitely artificial. But here's the strange part. It's not moving. No power signatures, no heat emissions. It's just drifting." Sarah studied the readings with growing interest. In all her years exploring the outer rim, she had never encountered a derelict vessel of this size. "How long has it been out there?" "Based on the decay patterns and cosmic radiation exposure, I'd estimate several thousand years, maybe more." Engineer Zara Okafor joined them at the scanner, her dark eyes reflecting the display's glow. "Could be a generation ship that lost power, or maybe a military vessel from some ancient war. Only one way to find out." Sarah returned to her captain's chair. "Zara, plot an intercept course. Jake, run a full tactical scan. I want to know if that thing poses any threat." As the Aurora's Edge changed heading toward the mysterious vessel, Sarah felt the familiar thrill of discovery coursing through her veins. This was why she had chosen the Deep Space Exploration Corps, for moments like this, when humanity pushed into the unknown and found wonders beyond imagination. 3 hours later, they had their first visual. On the main screen, the derelict ship appeared like a dark wound against the starfield. Its hull was black as space itself, covered in strange geometric patterns that seemed to shift when viewed directly. The vessel's design was unlike anything in human records, organic curves mixed with angular surfaces, as if grown rather than built. "Life signs?" Sarah asked. Jake shook his head. "Negative, but I'm reading some kind of energy field around the hull. Very faint, but it's there. Could be residual power from backup systems," Zara suggested. "Even after thousands of years, some alien tech might still be functional." Sarah made her decision. "Prep the shuttle. Marcus, Zara, you're with me. Jake, you have the bridge." "Captain." "Regulations require," Jake began. "Regulations require a security escort, I know." Sarah smiled at the younger officer. "That's why you're staying here with the ship. If something goes wrong, we'll need you to get word back to Earth." 30 minutes later, the 3 explorers suited up and launched in the Aurora's shuttle. As they approached the derelict vessel, its true size became apparent. The black hull stretched away in both directions, a wall of alien metal that dwarfed their small craft. "There," Zara pointed to what appeared to be a docking port. "That section looks designed for smaller vessels." Sarah guided the shuttle toward the opening. As they drew closer, the docking port began to glow with soft amber light, and mechanical arms extended to guide them in. "It's responding to our presence," Marcus whispered in awe. "After all these years, it still has automated systems." The shuttle settled into the docking bay with a gentle thud. Through the viewport, they could see a pressurized chamber with breathable atmosphere, according to their sensors. "Oxygen levels are good," Zara reported. "Temperature is cold but manageable. The air seems clean." They stepped out of the shuttle, into the alien vessel, their footsteps echoing in the vast chamber. Emergency lighting activated as they moved, casting strange shadows on the walls. The surfaces were covered in the same geometric patterns they had seen on the hull. But up close, Sarah could see they were actually symbols or writing. "A language," Marcus breathed, running his gloved hand over the markings. "We're looking at the written language of an extinct civilization." They made their way deeper into the ship, following corridors that seemed designed for beings roughly human-sized, but with different proportions. The architecture was beautiful in its alien way, with flowing lines and surfaces that seemed to pulse with their own inner light. In what appeared to be a central hub, they found their first major discovery. Banks of dark screens lined the walls, and in the center of the room stood a crystalline structure that pulsed with faint blue energy. "Some kind of data core," Zara said, approaching the crystal. "It's still active." As she spoke, the screens around them flickered to life. Images appeared, star maps, technical diagrams, and most remarkably, holographic recordings of the ship's former crew. The beings in the recordings were tall and slender, with 4 arms and large, multifaceted eyes. Their movements were graceful, almost dance-like, but there was something desperate about their actions in the recordings. They were running from something, Marcus observed, studying the aliens' body language. "Look at how they move, how they keep checking their instruments." They were afraid. More images flashed across the screens, scenes of destruction, worlds burning, fleets of silver ships attacking planets. Then came symbols that somehow conveyed meaning directly to their minds. The attacking vessels were called devourers, and they consumed entire star systems, leaving nothing but empty space behind. "My God," Sarah whispered. "This isn't just a derelict ship. It's a refugee vessel. These people were fleeing from something that destroyed their entire civilization." The recordings continued, showing the ship's crew, the Zephyrians, as they called themselves, working frantically on some kind of project. They were building something, a weapon or defense system. Thumai. Final images showed them placing the crystalline core at the center of their ship, then retreating to stasis chambers. "They're still here," Zara said suddenly. "The crew, they're in some kind of suspended animation." Following her lead, they found a section of the ship filled with hundreds of pod-like chambers. Most were dark and empty, their occupants long, dead, but a few still glowed with the same blue energy as the central core. "How long have they been sleeping?" Marcus wondered aloud. As if in response to his question, one of the pods began to open with a soft hiss of escaping gases. Inside, one of the Zephyrians stirred, its large eyes focusing on the humans with apparent confusion and then recognition. The alien spoke in a melodious language that their universal translators slowly began to decipher. You are not Zephyrian. What species are you?" Sarah stepped forward carefully. "We're humans. We found your ship drifting in space. We mean you no harm." The alien's expression changed to one of urgency. "Humans. Yes, we detected your signals years ago, studied your transmissions. You are still young, still growing. You must listen carefully. The Devourers, they follow the old paths through space. Your world lies directly in their path of expansion." "The Devourers are the machines from your recordings?" Marcus asked. "Not machines. Something worse. They were once like us, organic beings who transcended their physical forms. But they became something else, something that feeds on the life force of entire worlds. They have consumed half the galaxy." The Zephyrian struggled to sit up, its 4 arms trembling with the effort. "We tried to stop them, built weapons, formed alliances, nothing worked. In the end, we could only run and try to preserve what knowledge we could." "Why are you telling us this?" Sarah asked, though she suspected she already knew the answer. "Because this ship is not just a refuge, it is a weapon. The last and most powerful weapon our people ever created. It can destroy the Devourers, but it requires a crew to operate it. We tried, but we are too few, too weak after so long in stasis." Zara felt a chill run down her spine. "You want us to use your weapon?" "I want you to save your species and mine," the alien replied. "The Devourers will reach your solar system within 1 of your years. This ship, the Void Hunter, is your only hope." Sarah looked at her companions, seeing her own thoughts reflected in their faces. They had come looking for scientific discovery and instead found themselves at the center of an interstellar war that had raged for millennia. "If we agree to help," Sarah said slowly, "what would that mean? What would we have to do?" The Zephyrians, Multifaceted eyes seemed to shimmer with something like hope. You would have to become the crew of the Void Hunter. The ship will teach you, bond with you, but I must warn you. Once you accept this responsibility, there is no going back. The ship will mark you, and the Devourers will sense your presence. They will come for you with everything they have. Sarah thought of Earth, of the billions of people who had no idea that death was speeding toward them through the void. She thought of her own crew aboard the Aurora's Edge, waiting for her return. The weight of the decision seemed impossible to bear. "How long do we have to decide?" she asked. "The choice must be made now," the alien said. "Every moment we delay gives the Devourers more time to reach your world. And there is something else you must know. By boarding this ship, by activating its systems to speak with me, you have already sent a signal into space. The Devourers know we are here. They are coming." As if summoned by his words, alarms began to sound throughout the ship. The screens around them lit up with tactical displays showing distant contacts moving toward their position at incredible speed. "How long until they arrive?" Zara asked, her engineering mind already calculating distances and velocities. "3 of your days, perhaps 4, the Zephyrian replied. "Long enough to begin your training if you choose to accept." Sarah looked at Marcus and Zara, seeing determination replacing fear in their eyes. They were explorers, pioneers who had dedicated their lives to pushing the boundaries of human knowledge. Now they faced the ultimate frontier, not just exploring space but defending it. "What about our ship, our crew? They can return to warn your people, prepare them for what is coming. But you 3 must stay. The Void Hunter requires a minimum crew of 3 to function at combat readiness." The decision seemed to make itself. Sarah opened her comm channel to the Aurora's Edge. "Jake, this is the captain. I need you to prep for immediate departure back to Earth." "Captain? What's happening over there?" "We've found something big, Jake. Bigger than we ever imagined. You need to get word back to command, tell them Earth is in danger, and we're going to do everything we can to stop it." As Jake acknowledged her orders, Sarah turned back to the Zephyrian. "We accept. Show us how to use your weapon." The alien's expression showed relief and gratitude. "Then let us begin. The Void Hunter has been sleeping for too long. It is time to wake up and hunt once more." The ship around them seemed to respond to his words, systems powering up throughout the vessel. Sarah felt a strange tingling sensation, as if the ship itself was reaching out to touch her mind. She looked at Marcus and Zara and saw they felt it too. The beginning of a bond that would change them forever. Behind them, through the viewports, they could see the Aurora's Edge powering up its engines for the long journey home. Soon, Jake and the rest of the crew would be racing through space to warn Earth of the coming threat. But Sarah and her companions would remain here, in this ancient vessel of war, learning to become something they had never imagined. The last line of defense between humanity and extinction. The Void Hunter was awakening, and with it, humanity's hope for survival. The awakening. The first thing Sarah noticed about bonding with the Void Hunter was the dreams. As she lay in the specially designed chamber the Zephyrian had shown them, images flooded her mind, memories that belonged to the ship itself. She saw the construction of the vessel in orbital shipyards around a blue-green world, watched as thousands of Zephyrian engineers worked with desperate efficiency to complete their ultimate weapon. She witnessed the first test firing, where the ship's main cannon tore a hole in space itself, creating a wound in reality that swallowed an entire moon. The power was beyond anything humans had ever conceived, but it came with a terrible cost. Each shot aged the crew, drawing on their life force to fuel the weapon's impossible energies. Sarah woke with a gasp, her heart racing. Across the chamber, Marcus and Zara were stirring from their own bonding sessions, their faces pale with the weight of what they had experienced. "The memories," Marcus whispered. "I saw their homeworld burn, billions of people consumed in minutes." Zara sat up slowly, her hands shaking. "The weapon, it's not just technology. It's alive somehow, powered by the life force of its crew. That's why the Zephyrians went into stasis. They were dying from using it." The surviving Zephyrian, who had told them his name was Keeper Thane, approached their chambers. His 4 arms moved in what Sarah had learned was a gesture of comfort. The bonding is complete. You now carry within you the knowledge needed to operate the Void Hunter. But knowledge and wisdom are different things. Sarah stood, surprised to find her legs steady despite the overwhelming experience. Will we age like your people did when we use the ship's weapons? Humans are different from Zephyrians, Thane replied. Your life force is more flexible. The ship has been studying you during the bonding. It believes you can withstand more uses of the weapon before showing effects. How many more? Zara asked. Thane's large eyes reflected sadness. Perhaps 5 shots. Maybe 6. The ship cannot be certain. The weight of that revelation settled over them. They had enough power to destroy the Devourers, but using it would kill them. Sarah thought of her crew aboard the Aurora's Edge, already 2 days into their journey back to Earth. By now, Jake would be sending priority messages to Earth Command, warning them of the approaching threat. There has to be another way, Marcus said. Some method of fighting them that doesn't require us to sacrifice our lives. The Zephyrians thought the same thing, Thane replied. They spent centuries looking for alternatives. In the end, they realized that some battles can only be won through sacrifice. A soft chime echoed through the chamber, and the walls lit up with tactical displays. The Devourers had arrived. On the main screen, Sarah could see them. Sleek silver, vessels that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. There were dozens of them arranged in a perfect formation that spoke of machine precision. Each ship was roughly the size of a human cruiser, but their energy readings were off the charts. They're scanning us, Zara reported from her position. At what she had learned was the sensor station. The ship's systems felt natural to her now, as if she had been operating them for years. And they're trying to communicate. The main screen flickered, and a voice filled the chamber. It was perfectly neutral, without emotion or inflection. Void Hunter, you have been dormant for 3,247 standard years. Your continued existence serves no purpose. Surrender for processing. Thane's skin color shifted to a deeper blue, a sign of fear that Sarah had learned to recognize. They remember us. After all this time, they still remember. Sarah moved to what she now knew was the command position. The ship responded to her presence, interfaces lighting up around her. This is Captain Sarah Chen of the human vessel Aurora's Edge. We claim salvage rights to this ship under interstellar law. There was a pause before the Devourer responded. Humans, species classification, developing. You have made an error in judgment by boarding the Void Hunter. Withdraw immediately, and your termination will be postponed until your species reaches technological maturity. How generous, Marcus muttered from his position at the ship's analysis station. Sarah kept her voice steady. We're not withdrawing. This ship now serves under human command. Then you will be processed with the Zephyrian remnant. The transmission ended. Immediately, the Devourer ships began moving into attack formation. Their silver hulls seemed to ripple like liquid metal, reforming into more aggressive configurations. Shields up, Sarah ordered, her hands moving over controls that she somehow knew how to operate. Around the Void Hunter, barriers of energy formed, creating a protective envelope around the ship. The first wave of attacks came as beams of coherent energy that struck the shields with tremendous force. The ship shuddered, but the barriers held. Shield. Strength at 70%, Zara reported. But they're adapting. Each shot is more effective than the last. That's how they work, Thane explained, his 4 arms working frantically at a nearby console. They analyze defenses and modify their attacks accordingly. No shield can hold them for long. Then we don't rely on shields, Sarah said, her tactical training asserting itself. Can we outrun them? Negative, Marcus called out. They're faster than us in normal space, and they can track us through hyperspace jumps. Another wave of attacks struck the ship, this time penetrating the shields and causing actual damage. Sparks flew from several control panels and the lights flickered ominously. Captain, Zara said urgently, if we're going to use the main weapon, it has to be now. They're wearing us down too quickly. Sarah looked at Thane, then at her companions. They had been together for less than 3 days, but the bonding with the ship had created a connection between them that felt deeper than years of friendship. She could sense their determination, their readiness to make the ultimate sacrifice to protect Earth. "Power up the void cannon," she ordered. The ship responded immediately. Throughout the vessel, systems that had slept for millennia came to life. In the depths of the ship, the crystalline core began to pulse with increasing intensity, drawing power from sources that human science barely understood. Sarah felt the weapon charging, felt it drawing on her life force and that of her companions. It was like having part of her soul stretched thin pulled into the ship's systems. But there was also something else, a sense of purpose, of rightness. This was what they were meant to do. "Weapon charged," Marcus reported, his voice strained. "But Captain, there are too many of them. Even the void cannon can't destroy them all in one shot." On the screen, the Devourer formation was tightening, preparing for a final assault. Sarah could see more silver ships arriving from the edge of the system, reinforcements that would make victory impossible. "Then we make every shot count," she said. "Target the largest concentration." The void cannon fired. Reality itself seemed to tear open in front of the Void Hunter. A wound in space expanded outward, swallowing 6 of the Devourer ships instantly. The remaining vessels scattered, their perfect formation broken by the impossible weapon. Sarah gasped, feeling years of her life drain away in an instant. Beside her, Marcus aged visibly, his hair turning gray at the temples. Zara's hands were suddenly marked with lines that hadn't been there moments before, but they were still alive, still fighting. "Direct hit," Zara reported. 6 ships destroyed, but the others are regrouping, and more are arriving from hyperspace. Sarah watched as dozen more silver vessels emerged from jump points around the system. The Devourers were committing significant resources to stopping the Void Hunter, which meant they truly feared it. "We can't fight them all," Marcus said, "not unless we're willing to use the weapon again." Sarah looked at her aged companions, then at Thane. The Zephyrian's expression was one of sad resignation. His people had faced this same choice thousands of years ago, and they had made the ultimate sacrifice. But humans were different. Sarah had realized something during the bonding process, something that the Zephyrians had missed in their logical approach to warfare. "We don't have to destroy all of them," she said suddenly. "We just have to make them think we can." She opened a communication channel to the Devourer fleet. "This is the Void Hunter. You've seen what our weapon can do. Withdraw, now, or we'll use it again." The response came quickly. "Negative. The Void Hunter can fire a maximum of 7 times before crew termination. You have used 1 shot. We calculate acceptable losses for complete mission success." "They're right," Thane said quietly. "The ship cannot sustain more than 6 or 7 shots. After that, you will be dead and they will be free to continue to Earth." Sarah smiled grimly. "That's what they think. But they're making the same mistake everyone makes about humans. They're underestimating our stubborn refusal to accept impossible odds." She turned to her companions. "The ship's knowledge is in our heads now. We understand how the void cannon works, how it tears holes in space-time. What if we don't fire it at them directly?" Marcus caught on first. "You want to use it to create a gravity well, trap them in a region of distorted space." "More than that," Sarah said, her mind racing, with possibilities that the ship's knowledge had made clear. "We fire it at the system's star, create a controlled collapse that will destroy everything in the system, including us." Zara's eyes widened. "A mutual assured destruction scenario. They can't risk losing their entire fleet." "The Devourers don't fear death," Thane warned. "They've transcended such concerns." "But they're still logical," Sarah countered. "They won't sacrifice dozens of ships and years of travel time when they can simply wait for us to die of old age. Time is on their side." She opened the channel again. "Devourer fleet, this is your final warning. Our next shot will be targeted at the system's star. The resulting collapse will destroy everything within 3 light hours, including your ships. Withdraw now." This time, the pause was longer. Sarah could imagine the machine intelligences calculating probabilities, weighing losses against gains. Finally, the response came. You would destroy yourselves to stop us. This is illogical. This is human, Sarah replied. We have a saying, if we're going down, we're taking you with us. Another long pause. Then, incredibly, the silver ships began to pull back, moving to the edge of the system. Void Hunter, you have gained a temporary reprieve. We will monitor this system. When your crew dies of natural causes, we will return to claim the weapon. Understood, Sarah said. But know this, we've already sent word to our people. They know about you now, and humans have a bad habit of sharing dangerous knowledge. The Devourer ships continued their retreat, eventually jumping to hyperspace and disappearing. The system fell silent except for the hum of the Void Hunter's systems. Thane stared at the empty space in amazement. In all our history, no one had ever made the Devourers retreat. They have never shown fear before. They're not afraid, Sarah corrected. They're being practical. They know we'll age and die within a few decades, and then they can return for the ship. What they don't realize is that we're going to spend those decades preparing. Marcus looked up from his station. Preparing how? We can't mass-produce weapons like this. The technology is too advanced and the power requirements are impossible. Sarah smiled, feeling the weight of the ship's knowledge in her mind. But also, something else. The stubborn human certainty that there was always another way. We're not going to build more weapons, she said. We're going to build something better. We're going to build a trap. Over the following weeks, as they began the long journey back toward human space, Sarah explained her plan. The Void Hunter would become a mobile training facility, teaching selected human crews how to operate ships with similar technology. But more importantly, they would study the Devourers, learn their weaknesses, and prepare for the day when diplomacy would no longer be enough. The ship had given them time, perhaps decades, to prepare. It was up to humanity to make the most of it. As they traveled through the void, Sarah often stood at the observation deck, watching the stars and thinking about the impossible choice they had made. They had found a weapon capable of saving their species, but using it would cost them their lives. They had faced an enemy that had conquered half the galaxy and somehow convinced them to retreat. But most importantly, they had proven something that even the advanced Zephyrians had never understood, that sometimes the greatest weapon wasn't technology or firepower, but the willingness to sacrifice everything for the things you love. The Void Hunter continued its journey home, carrying within it the seeds of humanity's salvation and the knowledge that the real war was just beginning. Behind them, in the depths of space, the Devourers waited with machine patience for their enemies to grow old and die. They would be waiting for a very long time.